endangerment of the Kenyan population by bodies such as the Pest Control Products Board. Honorable Speaker, it's noteworthy to say that the Superior Court of California in the United States awarded a farmer $250 million US dollars in damages for developing cancer as a result of repeated exposure to the Roundup herbicide manufactured by Monsanto. The court found that Monsanto did not make information on the dangers of this pesticide available to the public. The same Roundup is currently sold across our agrovets in this country. When it became public that Roundup was a dangerous product, the same agrochemical companies rebranded the product and called it under a different name. So it's still available in our markets today. Honorable Speaker, aware that the Pest Control Product Act, Cap 346 of the laws of Kenya, does not state environmental or human health or biodiversity laws as a concern in the registration process. Further aware that the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service has been contravening Section 15 of the Pest Control Product Act by failing to publish the available information on actual levels of the pesticides in food samples collected and putting in place a regular monitoring system. Honorable Speaker, noting also that the Pest Control Products Board has not been following the World Health Organization and Food and Agriculture Organization International Code of Conduct on pesticide management. Further noting that nothing has been done to ban or withdraw or any strategy developed to get rid from the Kenyan market these toxic pesticides. Further considering that the government, since the petition, my petition in 2019, has neither established nor strengthened the monitoring system on the use of the pesticide through the data collection on food samples in the market and the levels of pesticide contained. Honorable Speaker, aware that this problem of harmful pesticides and effects is closer to home than can be stated, the Pesticide Atlas that was recently launched by the Hedrick Ball Foundation, and many of you received copies, indicates that the highly hazardous pesticides such as Roundup are in rampant use in the country. Incidentally, some of these areas have notable increases in cancer cases. Indeed, the highest rates of cancer are in crop production counties, particularly the Mount Kenya region. Most of these countries, such as Kirinyaga, have been forced to establish cancer centers to cater for the increased cancer incidence. This is not a coincidence. Research has shown that the highest use of the hazardous pesticides is in Kirinyaga County, and the highest prevalence of cancer is in Kirinyaga County. This is a question of a cause and effect. Honorable Speaker, noting that we are against a pharmaceutical industrial complex that especially targets developing countries, there is a collision between agrochemical countries, some in the developed world, and regulators in the developing countries. We know for a fact that our Pest Control Product Board has colluded over the years with the agrochemical companies to ensure that they continue to bring in this poison into our food through the pesticide business. Honorable Speaker, it's noteworthy to say that in 1970s, Kenya was producing 90% of the pyrethrum in the world, not in Africa, in the world. Today, systematically over a period of time, they destroyed the pyrethrum business in Kenya so that they could have a loophole to bring in the dangerous chemicals. Kenya is capable of producing pyrethrum and therefore be able to manufacture pesticides that are pyrethrum-based and are safer for our food. Today, Honorable Speaker, there are some companies within Kenya who are producing pyrethrum-based pesticides. But those pesticides, the safe pesticides, are only used by farmers who are exporting products to Europe because they cannot be permitted to use the hazardous ones and get their goods into the country. Today, the flowers that are sent to Europe, the horticultural products that are sent to Europe, use pyrethrum-based pesticides, safe pesticides. But for the local market, the dangerous chemicals are used. Today, if any exporter of flowers or any horticultural products takes their products to Europe and it is beyond the minimum residue limit as permitted by those countries, the container is sent back. That's how serious they are. But the same country allows in its laws that the banned chemicals may not be used in Europe and America. But their law allows for those chemicals to be manufactured in those countries for export to a country that is foolish enough to permit it. In this case, our country has been negligent and has allowed this to come into the country. For instance, I'll give the example. Last year and the year before, when Kenya was tackling the locust menace, the World Health Organization allowed the use of chemical sprays that contained compounds that are prohibited in Europe and other Western countries. I took the initiative to write a letter to the WHO office headquarters here at the United Nations Environment Programme compound and also to Rome. They ignored my request, even though I made it clear to them that the pyrethrum-based pesticides that could be used to kill the locusts was locally available in sufficient quantities. Nevertheless, they colluded with those agrochemical companies that are selling the dangerous and hazardous chemicals into our country. I raised this on an issue of an official letter. These products are manufactured in Western countries, not for domestic use, but for export. Therefore, after the prevalence of cancer and related diseases, we still purchase cancer-treating medical equipment from the same countries. So they make us sick. Then they send us their equipment to treat our sickness. And then they make us buy their medicines, which they manufacture, to treat an illness that they themselves are creating. They are creating a vicious cycle and a market for themselves. It's against this background, Honorable Speaker, that I move the House to deliberate on this urgent matter of national importance with a view to causing the government to institute measures, among others. May I have extra time? I'm just about to finish.
I allowed you 2 more minutes.
Okay. And the measures we are requesting is 1, proposing amendment to the Pest Control Product Act Cap 346 of the laws of Kenya, or enacting a totally new law on pesticides to include environmental and human health or biodiversity as possible concerns during registration. 2, sanctioning the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, KEMFIS, and appropriate action taken towards the board and their management, including removal from office for contravention of Section 15 of the Pest Control Product Act by failing to publish the available information on the actual levels of pesticides in food and samples collected, and putting in a regular management process. Lastly, having the Pest Products Control Board sanctioned and appropriate action taken towards the board and management, including removal from office for their failure to follow the World Health Organization and the Food and Agriculture Organization International Code of Conduct in the management of pesticides. That the Pest Control Products Act be amended to include the list of pesticides highlighted and prohibited and banned and withdrawn from Europe and the United Kingdom. And in closing, Honorable Speaker, allow me to pay tribute to a very important woman who assisted me in this process. Her name is Evelyn Ogutu of the Hedrick Ball Foundation, a tireless warrior to protect our biodiversity. It is sad today to announce that she died 3 days ago while delivering twins at the MP Shah Hospital. My deepest condolences to her children and her husband, David Okembwa, and that I wish today she had been alive to see me do this today. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.